Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen and Alex King here. Today is Wednesday, February the 20th, 2019. It's 8 a.m. in New York, 5 a.m. in Los Angeles, 1 p.m. in London. Sydney, Australia is at 12 midnight. Wherever you are in the world, thank you for tuning in for another episode of LOA Today. Your daily dose of happy. And while I am struggling to be awake this morning, Alex is having another perfect hair morning and telling me all about how she has a perfect hair morning, and I have
what
to say,
we call black girl magic.
Black girl magic. Okay, all right. Well,
yes.
Hey, whatever it takes. I mean, if, I had no idea that such magic existed, but then again, I didn't even know about the law of attraction 12 years ago. So anything's possible as far as I'm concerned. So Kelly, pretty unfortunately, cannot join us this week. She is a life coach, of course, but her own coach has advised her to basically limit her activities this week. So we're going to honor that, and we will miss her, but we will have her join us next time. But that just means you and I get to have more fun like we do on Tuesdays. And yet, I have to say, yesterday afternoon was fun. When I got off the show with you,
right.
I had this big smile on my face. So, yeah, it's a good thing. And this is also a Q&A, so if you're listening to the live stream and have questions that you want us to address, we'll be happy to do that. Otherwise, we'll just do what we normally do, which is come up with the wackiest questions we can come up with. Really interesting ones, actually. I mean, the one you came up with yesterday, Alex, about karma and law of attraction, I never really considered, could they be considered the same thing? And when you asked that, I said, okay, yeah, well, I guess there's an overlap there. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
So that was good. So we never know what kind of questions are going to come up. All we know for sure is that Alex is going to have a perfect hair day, and that's all that's important. So,
facts.
There it is. See, you get me in a silly mood even as I'm starting the program. This is a good thing. This is a very good thing.
That's how you start your daily dose of happy.
Absolutely. And it works every time. It's great. So, other than your great hair day and the fact that you woke up 10 minutes ago, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I was a little anxious this morning, but, I watched an episode of The Resident, and now I'm good.
Oh, okay. So that's actually a part of your routine if you're feeling anxiety then, because that question has come up before. How do you deal with anxiety?
Yes. Distraction.
And that works for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's good.
Sometimes.
Well, what do you do when it doesn't
work? If it's
work?
if it's at like a 3, I can deal with it. But if it's a 5 or above, I got to take a medication. I got to talk to my mom. There's a whole thing.
There's a routine. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So is that where Chloe comes in and tells you?
Yep.
Okay. Got it. Well, that makes sense. So let's see. What are we going to do with our first question? I don't see anything coming in from the live listeners yet, so we got to come up with our first one ourselves. You want to come up with the first one? You did that really well yesterday.
I got one.
Okay. Let's hear it then.
Okay. How do I want to word this? Okay.
I don't know. How do you want to word it?
Does jinxing apply in the law of attraction?
Jinxing? Whoa.
Yeah.
Jinxing. Well, law of attraction applies to everything, so it does in some way. I mean, well, the first question that comes to my mind is, let's define jinxing. What is jinxing? Because I don't believe in jinxes. I've never believed in jinxes. So I don't even know how to begin to answer the question. But what is a jinx? I mean, to you, what is a jinx?
To me, it's like whenever, I just lost my train of thought. Hold on. Okay, so jinxing. Okay. Whenever you say something, I don't know, it's like the reverse law of attraction, I guess. You know what I mean? Like the negative, you know what I mean? Like the negative part of it.
So it's the law of repulsion, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's like, no, it's not. It's like if you don't want to say something because it might not come true. It's like a birthday wish. Saying it out loud.
Okay. Well, I guess from a law of attraction perspective, my answer would be your wish is my command. I mean, if you decide that you're you're going to focus on something not coming true, then you're right. it's not going to come true. I mean, it's just it's that simple. It depends on what side. That's what it always comes down to. What's the energy? What's the thought and the feeling associated with it, right? So, if the vibration is one of fear about something, you can get more fear of that thing. If the vibration is about excitement about something, you can get more excitement and more stuff to be excited about. And to that extent, I think jinxing does apply. The real question, though, is what happens when somebody is afraid of a jinx when they're trying to get something?
Right.
And what I think happens there is they end up jinxing themselves. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, you know?
Right. So, yes, it does apply.
Yeah. Well, you just have to kind of figure it out, I guess, because we know that law of attraction applies to everything. It's just, how does it actually work out with jinxing? I never really thought about jinxing. Now you got me thinking about baseball, because I'm a baseball fan, and baseball players are notoriously superstitious. I mean, they just follow some of the most amazing habitual patterns. Some of them are absolutely disgusting, but they'll just, if they got a hit with a particular pair of socks on, they won't take the socks off for a month, and their fellow players say, "Change your damn socks." No, I keep getting hits with these socks. Oh, please. I mean, all right,
so let's extend it. Does superstition apply?
Well, it's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Because if you believe it's true, then it's true. And if you believe that it's not true, then it's not true. So either way, you're right.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's what
either way, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, the same thing could be said about, I'm trying to think what the generic term is.
Oh, excuse me.
There's a generic term for what I'm trying to think of, and I always think of it in just sort of under the realm of superstition, but like curses and certain kinds of witches' spells, that kind of thing. Not the kind
bad
of
juju,
not bad juju, that kind of thing. Yeah,
yeah.
And it's all about the mental state of the person who is believing or not believing in it, and inevitably it plays out exactly the way they believe or don't believe.
Right.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think... I was noticing that about... What was it? Somebody had talked about... What was it? Just yesterday. I think it was something that Louise was watching on television. And I was doing something in the kitchen. I can't remember what it was. But somebody was giving an explanation. Oh, I know what it was. It was a comedian. A female comedian who was on the Henry Louis Gates show, Finding Your Roots. And this comedian had been through all this stuff in her life, and she had a double mastectomy, and she had, before she had the operation, she had very small breasts, and so she decided to turn her misfortune into a comedy routine, and described how her breasts got so tired of her talking about her very, very small breasts all these years, they said, "I know, let's have a conspiracy. We're going to make her really sick and kill her." And I'm thinking to myself, she doesn't understand how well she's explaining law of attraction.
Yeah.
Because she thought she was just telling a joke,
Yeah.
That kind of thing happens on a regular basis. It's amazing.
Yeah.
In life, how often people will be expressing law of attraction without realizing they're expressing it, and probably without even being aware of what it is.
It's funny. I was talking to my friend last night, and this is the friend of mine, my B-fam, that thinks that we're a cult.
Right.
And he said to me, I forget what we were talking about or how it came up, but he said, "Yep, that's the law of attraction." I was like, yay!
Oh my God. Did you take his temperature? Is he okay? Does he have the flu?
I was like, I'm not going to push it. I'm not going to jinx it.
Good move. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. It is funny.
I was like, yes, that's exactly what it is. Good for you.
Steve Rowell and I were talking about it yesterday morning, how both in the UK and here in the US, we have a kind of a popular saying that bad things happen in threes. And that they happen primarily because people believe that bad things happen in threes. And so until the third one happens. They believe, yep, bad things are going to happen because bad things happen in threes. And then the third thing happens and it's, oh, good, we're done with the three, so no more bad things are going to happen, so no more bad things happen. It's amazing.
In my family, it's deaths always happen in threes.
Death, oh,
so,
okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're like, okay, who's next? at every funeral, we're like, what two are next? Because me and my mom will be like picking people out. It's terrible.
The macabre world of Alyx King.
I don't do funerals well, let me tell you.
Apparently,
so I get very, I get very inappropriate. I don't know what to do with myself.
Have you ever thought of being the next Stephen King and writing some novels about it? I mean, that could probably sell really well.
No, Stephen King scares me. I can't handle him.
He is a little strange in the thought process. Yeah, I've never been a fan of horror. Yeah, but well, I know a lot of people are. So that's what I thought of it. But.
I mean, I can deal with some horror, but like I'm a big fan of the Insidious series. But Stephen King, he's on another level. I think it's because I know I'm in his brain when I'm watching it, and I'm like, it just makes it even scarier.
I think there's a certain maliciousness you have to have in order to be a horror writer. You just have to have that malicious side to you, like, oh,
yeah, because you're like, I'm going to scare the crap out of people.
Yeah. Like, ugh. And then there are the people who are the fans of it. And I understand that they're finding some joy in it. They're finding some excitement, some fun out of it. I never found fun in it. I mean, the story I like to tell about my one and only experience with a horror movie was back in like 1980 or something like that, when the first Alien film came out. And,
okay, those weren't even real horror movies, though.
Well, they were for the time. I mean, Jaws took everything to a new level, but up until that point, that was a horror movie. And
it's so sad to see how different the times are.
Oh, it's huge.
If I watch Jaws now, I'm like, okay, I can see the fan in the back.
Oh, God, yes. But that's the beauty of these movies. I mean, I'm not a fan of horror movies per se, but any kind of movies like that, when the movie gets your attention, you don't notice all the stuff that's in the background. You just don't even see that. You suspend your disbelief so much that there could be a guy walking around in the background and you just ignore him. You just don't pay any attention to him at all. But no, I mean that was my one time to see something classified as a horror film, and it got this was the movie where the alien eats his way out of the guy's stomach, and so it's a very gory scene, right? And that scene, and everybody knew that scene was coming, and you could sense the tension in the theater. And the scene comes, and it doesn't even look like ketchup. It looks so fake, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there trying to not laugh out loud because I didn't want to ruin the movie for the people who liked being there. And I was just there because my friend had begged me to go with him. And my friend, who begged me to go with him, grabbed me by the arm and said, "Come on, we're leaving. I can't stand this." He was so overcome by the reality of the film. I'm like, oh, so I've never liked the whole genre, but that was my one experience with it.
I like like I said, the Insidious series, and I like the Saw series, because the Saw series I like on a psychological level, because I'm sitting here thinking while I'm watching this, I'm like, the writers who are writing this, what are they thinking when they're processing, how do we kill this person? What creative way can we kill this person? Like, that's literally all they're doing the whole entire movie.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, it's interesting to me. And I'm like, okay, I gotta see how they kill these 7 people, so I gotta watch this one.
I don't get that. I mean, I hear what you're saying. The words actually make sense. They're complete sentences, but I don't get it. I just don't understand.
Now, Insidious, it's just scary. So I don't know. I don't even know why I like it, because I don't like to be scared.
I don't like to be scared either. And yet there are people who apparently love it. I mean, I know, when I was growing up, there were a number of girls who liked to scream. And I'm pretty sure that's why they went to the movies. It was an opportunity to scream. Right? If you're, maybe by today's standards they were lame, but they still screamed anyway. Hey, they screamed for the Beatles. Why couldn't they scream for a horror film, So...
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, it was just... I
don't know who likes to scream, but okay.
I'll tell you, there were quite a few of them who did. So, I don't know. I think there is an inherent things in some people that they just want to experience that without the actual consequences of it. Mm-hmm. They just want to feel it, and I've never really wanted to, but I know I can just see it. You can tell on there. Look at the faces of people who are watching a horror film. Yeah. Right. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. They're just waiting for it.
Yeah.
I know it's coming. Well, that's why Jaws was so successful, because there were long stretches in the movie where nothing happens, but they're building it up, and they're building it up, and they're building it up, and building it up, and then finally you get to a point where you feel like, oh, well, I guess there's nothing there, and then the attack comes, that kind of thing. So people get something out of it. That's actually one of the hardest things about the law of attraction. The fact that different folks have different strokes, as the saying goes. Different people have different interests. And what is uninteresting to one person may be very interesting to another. And what is interesting to one person may actually be disgusting to another. And that's hard. That's hard to reconcile.
That's so true.
That's hard to deal with. We have names and terms to describe that. Sadistic. There's one, right? People who like to hurt other people. I mean, to me,
Mike's got a little bit of that. He's got issues. He likes to pop my pimples. Yeah, I'm like, why? And then he's like, will you pop mine? I was like, absolutely not. I will not pop your pimples. I'm so sorry, sir.
Okay,
but he's one of those people that they have those videos they call Dr. Pimple Popper, and you get to watch different doctors pop these insane pimples.
I saw.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, why are you sending me these videos? I don't like it. Disgusting.
See, now there's an example of different reactions, because my reaction is, why would I want to watch that? Your reaction was, why are you sending it?
But it's also disgusting.
But your primary one was, why did you send that to me? Different thought process.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, you made a crack about Disney films, and it was well deserved yesterday, but I'll tell you, more of the time I'll take a Disney film. I mean, given the choice, they're usually much better. And you can almost always count on a happy ending, and I like happy endings, so,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Speaking of Disney films, they're doing redoing everything live action this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Dumbo's coming out, Lion King's coming out, Aladdin's coming out, I forget what else, something else. I want to say Jungle Book, and then there's one more, but I can't remember what it is.
And they're doing them all live action. That's interesting.
Yeah. They already showed the trailer of Aladdin, and Will Smith is playing the genie, and no one is happy about it.
Well, how could they possibly be happy? You can't top Robin Williams. That's not possible.
Exactly.
That's not even fair. I give Will credit for even trying to do it. I mean, that's taking on a lot,
It's I like his enthusiasm, but you're not Robin Williams. It's not going to happen.
It's not. It's just. I mean, he's a good guy. He deserves better than that.
It was iconic. You can't top that.
Yeah.
Even though it's live action. I mean, it looks really cool, and he looks really cool as a giant blue genie. But no, it's not the same.
Not the same. No.
Not the same.
That actually.
But Dumbo looks adorable.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's the little live action elephant with giant ears, and he won't fly without his feather. It's so cute. Oh my god!
How big do they have the ears? I remember in the cartoon, the ears were about as big as his body.
Oh, they're cute. They're the size of him.
They are, okay.
Yeah.
So they kept the proportions the same.
Yes, they did.
Okay.
Well, you have to. The aerodynamics just wouldn't work out. I
mean, now talk about suspension of disbelief. Right there, you just did it. You convinced yourself that the ears are big enough, this big round animal that weighs probably about 500 pounds can get off the ground. That's pretty good.
Well, it's not a full-size elephant. He's a baby elephant. I don't think they showed him growing up in this movie. So it works in my mind.
It does. It works great.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the original question was.
And the feather is what makes him fly, not his ears.
The what?
The feather is what makes him fly, not his ears. It's law of attraction, because it's his belief in the feather that makes him fly.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, I may have to see this. Okay.
Yes.
All
I
right.
think you should. I think everyone should.
Very good. Hey, way to go, Disney.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this all came off of one question about jinxing. I have to say, I'm very impressed. We just did a 20-minute riff on jinxing that turned into Dumbo with his flying feathers. Like, whoa.
Yep. You never know what you're going to get when I'm on here.
You never know. Okay. Well, then it's my turn to come up with a question. We'll see if mine can last more than 60 seconds. Okay. Well, I go back to basics when I'm not sure what to do. I'm going to go back to basic with you. The basic is you are a fan of premieres of television shows and television series and giving people the heads up, the skinny on what the
spoil it all.
What the spoilers are, right? So, my question to you is, why do you like that so much?
I don't know. I like to know what's coming. And I know there are other people out there like me, so that's who I'm doing it for.
But you don't know why you like it.
I have no idea why I like it. Like when at the end of the episode of the show, and they have the preview of the next episode, my mom completely skips over it. She just turns the TV off. Like I'm just like, and I'm like, you don't want to know what's going to happen next week? How do you live? I like the suspense of knowing what's coming. I don't know. It's weird.
That's funny. Well, the good news is you don't have to know. That is the good thing.
You don't have to know.
You only have to like it, whatever it is. And in this case, it's knowing what's coming up in, the next episode or the next series or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yep.
But I never really was one who was terribly interested in what was coming up next. I mean, if I saw a spoiler, it didn't spoil it for me. It's not like, oh, why did you tell me that? Neither one was important.
Yeah, see, it doesn't spoil it for me. That's another thing. It doesn't ruin it for me. I'm still going to watch it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that I can appreciate because I know what that feels like. To me, and I guess this is something that Louise and I are similar about because, she's like you. She wants to know what's coming up next. So she's constantly curious about that kind of thing. But when it comes to actually watching some kind of performance, some kind of a movie, theater, or a television show or whatever, we just like watching the interaction of the characters. And if the characters are believable and they're pursuing some sort of a plot line that is not totally revolting and actually has perhaps some interest to it, then it's fun. And I don't really care if I know what's going to happen. I mean, we have probably, like most people, we have a collection of DVDs, and there's probably at least a dozen of them we've seen 10 times each. Each of those, after the first time, the other 9 times, we always knew what was coming up next.
Right.
It didn't spoil seeing it because the performances were so good. They're so much fun to watch. So that's what works for me. But I can appreciate why it is some people wouldn't want to know, because that is a fun part about storytelling, is not knowing what's going to happen next. That's probably why horror film people like to watch their horror films. To me, it's never been that important, but, to each his own.
See, I like to guess, and I like to know that I'm right, because usually I am. So,
okay.
I like that's another part of it. So I like to say, oh, I know. Oh, she's sleeping with her. I know it.
Sometimes I like to do that. Sometimes, when it comes too easily, that's when we say it's too predictable.
Yeah, I don't like when it's too easy. I like when it's complicated, but I still get it right. And I feel like some sort of accomplishment when that happens.
I can appreciate that too, because what's the most recent? Well, the most recent example I can think of was when the Downton Abbey series concluded. I didn't really watch the first 3 seasons. The last 3 seasons I started to pay attention because they weren't as dysfunctional as the first 3 seasons. But Louise watched the whole thing from start to finish, and we have the entire collection, so she goes through it periodically and sees them all again. But at the very last episode, we were kind of speculating what was going to happen. And we both speculated that Barrow, the under butler, was going to become the butler, but we weren't sure how it was going to happen. We figured that somehow Lady Mary was going to be involved because she was an advocate of his. But we weren't sure how it happened. And sure enough, he becomes the butler because Carson has this debilitating spasm thing going on. So he can't continue to be a butler anymore. And then Barrow shows up at the New Year's Eve celebration and, as a guest, and sees Carson going through his terrible stuff and says, "I'll be glad to help out," and gets the job. So, so it did work out for him, which is kind of a weird thing because Barrow is not a happy character. He was never considered like one of the characters you were rooting for. He was one of the characters you rooted against because he was really mean-spirited. And the reason he was mean-spirited is he was gay in a time when it was completely unacceptable to be gay.
Oh, that guy. Okay, now I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because I've only seen a couple episodes.
So he was like always very spiteful because he felt like society, life just didn't treat him well. And so he treated other people badly.
Yeah, because being gay back then was not a thing.
Yeah. It also made him one of the best characters, though. He had more three-dimensionality to him than almost anybody there. I mean, he definitely did. He also played a wonderful role in the. They did what they called a Christmas card that they did a couple of 3 times between series, and it was for the purpose of raising money for a British charity. I don't remember which charity it was, but the actors got together and they acted out a version of A Christmas Carol. But it was with what's his name? Hugh Bonneville. I can't remember what the character's name is. Oh, jeez. The Earl of Grantham. Whatever his name is. Robert. It's with him wondering why he was even there and, saying, well, I should never have been born. So basically he's also doing It's a Wonderful Life. It's like the two together. Okay? And in the course of doing that, he has to be replaced by another Earl of Grantham, who gets played by George Clooney.
What is happening?
And of course, he's playing the Earl of Grantham, who's a very, stick up the butt kind of person, saying, well, this can't possibly be happening. This can't possibly be happening. What's he doing there? Why is he making love to my wife? All this other stuff. How can my daughter still be here? And why doesn't anybody notice this? And then they pan over to the writer, Julian Fellows. He goes over to Fellows and says, this can't be happening. Why did you allow this to happen? And Fellows says, nobody cares. Don't worry about it. Well, one of the best parts in this whole little thing they did, it was really hysterical, was you see these 2 shoes hiding behind a curtain. And George Clooney goes over and pulls the curtain aside, and there's Barrow standing there. And Clooney says to him, have you been listening in? And Barrow says, yes, sir, I have. And Clooney says, well, that's no way for an underbutler to behave. And Mary says, oh, well, it is. Take a look at his contract. You'll see that is part of his contract. His job is to go spy on people upstairs. He looks at the contract and he says,
fourth wall. I love it.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I'm sorry about that, Barrow. Carry on, and pulls the curtain closed.
I love when shows break the fourth wall. It cracks me up.
Yep. So good stuff there.
Yeah.
So as usual, we are breaking boundaries here in terms of what we talk about in LOA today, but this is getting us to laugh, and that's really the most important thing.
Exactly.
Okay. So what do we do next for a question? What's our next topic to address?
Well, have you looked at the screen?
It's quiet. And we've got people...
Well, wake up, everybody.
They're just sitting there very quietly. So...
Where's Nasha and Jeffrey? Where are they?
They haven't checked in.
Where's Dee Dee?
I haven't seen Dee Dee in a while, actually.
Ooh. I don't like that.
I'll have to send her a message, see if she's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Sarita is here. Siraj checked in too. But yes, some of the regulars aren't here. But that's okay. We come up with our own questions. So,
yes.
Let's see. What do we come up with the next question? What's a good one? All right. Let's see. Well, when I don't know what the question is, I just reach inside and start talking and see what comes out. So, with that thought in mind...
That's when the best ones come.
You never know what's going to come out when you do that.
Yeah.
What is the best way to deal with sickness from the perspective of law of attraction?
I guess paint a vignette of yourself being well. Remember the good times. When you had both nostrils.
When you had both nostrils. Yeah. Yep.
Remember that feeling of breathing freely and not having a fever and Not coughing every 5 seconds. Oh, the good old days.
Never mind that it was only 48 hours ago.
Right. Exactly.
No, you're right, though. It's exactly what you have to do. And that's what made the difference for me. I know people who have been suffering from the flus that are going around. Who have been
the super flu is no joke.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, we mentioned Bill G. and his wife, Nina. She's in the hospital because of suspected pneumonia coming out of one of those things. And that's pretty scary stuff. But there are a lot of people who are finding that not only do they get sick, but they get the recurrence of it. They think they're over it. And then all of a sudden it comes roaring back and all that kind of stuff. Like, oh, boy. So that's why I do really think it makes a big difference to do exactly what you said. To focus on what does it feel like to feel good. And not easy to do.
Yeah, right.
Not easy to do. It takes a little determination, a little focus, a little effort. But well worth it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because it does work. I mean, this past weekend I was really sick. Louise and I both got sick at the same time. That was a first, by the way. We had never been sick at the same time before.
Oh, wow.
But we both got sick at the same time, and I'm pretty sure we got it at the supermarket because we went to the supermarket, we came back, and boom, all of a sudden we're not feeling good. Yeah, there's a little hint there.
There's germs everywhere.
Yeah, got the wrong shopping cart, didn't, Lysol it or something. But it was...
Don't they have those Lysol wipes for you?
Yeah, the little Purells, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we actually used one, but yeah, they do have those. Yeah.
I don't think I use them either now that I think about it. I was like, oh, that's a cool concept. Anyway, back to what I was doing.
Yeah, that's right. We now return you to your regularly scheduled program.
Yeah, exactly.
But, when it hits, and it really hit us pretty hard, we were both knocked down. We were just, lying around in bed, on the couch, whatever. And very quickly, I remembered what you have to do, started focusing on it, and fell asleep. And it's an example of how, my first try didn't work.
Yeah. Or did it? Because your body needed the sleep to get better.
It did need the sleep, but then I woke up an hour later and it felt worse. It's one of those things.
Well.
Because it's middle of the day, and I've never been much of a napper during the day anyway, so now I woke up like, oh, God, I feel terrible. So I had to go through it a few times in order to try to get myself into that, quote, good feeling place when I wasn't feeling good.
Right.
And I actually didn't succeed on Saturday. I did start to succeed a little bit on Sunday, but evidently not enough because Monday I was still not feeling good. I felt actually a little bit better on Monday, but not a whole lot more. But Monday, for whatever reason, I was able to focus better. And when I woke up Tuesday morning, I wasn't fit. I wasn't like, jumping up and going out and running 5 miles or something like that.
But you weren't dead either.
I was able to function. I was up for like 4 straight hours without collapsing. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure it happened because I was able to visualize it. I was able to focus and just stay in that good feeling place for, a few minutes at a time and maintain the focus on it. So I agree with you. It makes all the difference in the world to do that.
Well, there's something to be said for it because I didn't do any of that and I was down for like a week and some change, whereas you were only down for like 3 days. Yeah. So there you go.
And that's it. A lot of people do get knocked down for long, long periods of time. And I don't think they understand how to do it. But yeah, it really does work. Ever since I've started to apply it more and more and more in my life, it has been very, very consistent. First of all, this is the first time I've gotten sick in at least a couple of years. At least. Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing. I hadn't been sick in, I don't even know. So I didn't know how to deal.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
It was like, what do I do now?
But to me, that was also a good sign because it meant that I had been working more and more on focusing on what I want, on feeling what it is that I want, and getting it. For whatever reason, being healthy was easy for me. Probably because they talk about how if you have a momentum going, the momentum is easier to follow than trying to start a new one. So that probably played a major role in it. But it's always been pretty easy for me. And the more that I practiced, on those rare occasions, I mean, last year I had the ligament issue. That was pretty unusual for me to have something like that. Right. And it did take quite a bit of effort to, kind of turn it around. But that momentum helped. That momentum helped me to believe I could find that feeling. I could find that experience in myself. And it made a big difference. So, but yeah, the stuff works. There's no doubt about it. It definitely works. It's just a question of learning to apply it. Not that I'm an expert, not that I've learned to apply it in all areas of my life. I'm still working on certain areas, still working on getting better,
But you're an expert what works for you, so that's also valuable.
More and more every day. That's true. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in the process of being an expert on what works for me, I become an expert at how to get better at what works for me. Mm-hmm. It's the increments. It's the step by step. Every day, get a little bit better, right?
Baby steps, yeah.
Baby steps, yeah. Through the daily exercises. I mean, I woke up today not feeling as well as I'd hoped that I would. Because I figured, after I had this big breakthrough the last day or so, I figured, okay, tonight I should be able to get a good night's sleep. Didn't get the good night's sleep. I was like awake from like 11 o'clock to like 4. It was not very good at all. But I finally did fall asleep for a couple hours and woke up with enough sleep that, okay, I can function. I can come do the show with you and all that.
Yeah.
But I still got up and did my mirror exercises. Even though
that's good.
I looked in the mirror and I almost didn't recognize myself, but I did them. I did them. I looked pretty haggard, but I did them anyway, and tried to convince myself that I looked better than I felt, and that remind myself I still love me. I'm still okay. I'm still a good person. Good things are happening. All that kind of thing. And even though I wasn't feeling tip-top form today, it helped. It helped a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's all it has to do is help just a little bit, right?
I stole a mirror exercise from Kelly.
Oh, really? What'd you do?
Yeah, remember when she said that we were talking about relationships before Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
And she said that she would, I don't know if she did what I did, but she would always do her mirror exercises and say, we are in a loving and lasting relationship. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start doing that. So I'll take the picture, a good picture that we have of us, and I'll look at it. And I'll say, we are in a loving and lasting relationship, especially when he's trying me. I'm like, oh, let me do this again. Let me focus.
And is it helping?
I don't know. I mean, everything's going great so far, so I'll say yes.
Okay. Well, it's not just what results you're seeing, although that's certainly a good indicator. It's also how it helps you feel. Do you feel better when you do them?
I mean, I felt great anyway. So it's just it's kind of a safety net.
You mean like superstition?
A little bit. A backup plan.
A backup plan. Oh, jeez. Let me give you a little piece of advice. Don't tell Mike that bit.
No, I'm not gonna. I don't even know how he feels about law of attraction. I mean, he Googled it when I told him I do a podcast on it, and he was like, he's like, it sounds legit.
Oh, well, that's pretty good. That's a good response.
Yeah, that's better than other people's responses.
I mean, when I first heard about it, my response would have been like along the lines of, oh, yeah, that kind of stuff. Okay. Just would have been very dismissive.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like being polite, but yeah, sure, right. You really should grow up and learn some, reality. My sister said it best. I've told this one before. My sister said it best when we had a conversation sometime in the last 6 months or so, in which we were talking about stuff related to law of attraction and in relation to what's going on in her life. And I said to her, you've been telling me about stuff like this since long before the term law of attraction became popular. Can you imagine what you would have felt like if I had talked like this 20 years ago? And her response was, I would have fallen out of my chair if you had talked like this 20 years ago. And it's true.
Oh, my God.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't believe any of it. But
yeah.
So, no, that's a very positive response for him to say. That makes sense. That's good. That's really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. Okay, you got to come up with the next one because my brain is fried right now.
Okay. I saw a post on our group page.
Oh.
And it was, I don't know I can't quote it exactly, but I'm going to try to get the gist of it. But it said, my boyfriend just broke up with me. I want to say there was infidelity of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
My boyfriend just broke up with me, and how do I get over it when I really just want to hate him?
Yes. There are lots of posts like that. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a fairly common kind. The thing that I always notice, and it's often the basis for how I respond if I'm going to respond to one of those, is to notice all of the different ways that the person who posts it says what's going wrong. Mm-hmm. They never talk about what's going right. Everything that they write is about all the things that are going wrong.
Right.
So, like, one of the ways, this is a fairly common one for me, one of the ways I'll respond is, okay, you've made it really clear what's going wrong. Now, what's going right?
Right.
Talk about that for a moment. And I'll usually get some kind of pushback. And then after the pushback, I'll say, okay, but what's going right?
Right. You didn't answer my question.
You didn't answer the question, right. Because it's funny, when we get into those kinds of spaces, we really do have blinders on when it comes to what is going right. Mm-hmm. If I've asked that person, what's going right, and he or she indicates, well, yeah, you're right, I can't really think of what's going right, but you're right, I should probably be focusing on that. I'll say something like, well, do you have a place to live?
Right.
Do you have food? Do you have clothing? Do you have anybody who loves you?
Make your grateful list.
Yeah, exactly. I really got shot down on that one recently. Most of the time that goes well.
Ooh.
Most of the time people accept that. But there was one post, I can't remember what it was, something along this very line. And I posted something about being grateful for, count your blessings, that kind of thing. And I got lambasted for, well, yeah, good luck with that one. That's not going to work. By not just the person who was the original poster, but other people saying that my response was inappropriate.
Do they know what group they're in?
Well, it wasn't this group. It was another law of attraction group, but it wasn't this group.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, they may be lost.
I think, lost is probably a good description of what they were going through.
They may have taken a wrong turn and it fit the Facebook entrance.
But they really went overboard on it, and I thought it was an interesting reaction. The thing about anybody who posts something like that, and some of the people who comment on things like that with that same perspective, because clearly these people who are commenting had that same perspective, is that it really shows how strongly people will adhere to their own uncomfortable comfort zones. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Deep. I like that.
Yeah. It's something that Joel was the first one who really zeroed me in on the idea of comfort zones and helped me to recognize how often a so-called comfort zone isn't comfortable and how virulently people will fight for them.
Yeah.
And it really is true. I mean, depending on how stuck you are, so to speak, you can really fight pretty hard for your comfort zone.
Well, you can't forget also that victim card that they earn so well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I've kind of learned you don't use victim. I have used the word victim before, and boy, that really ends conversations really quickly.
Well, that's because people think it's like, they underestimate the word victim. They think it something tragic had to happen. You know what I mean? Like someone had to have died to be a victim, of murder or whatever. But it's like, no, you can be a victim of anything.
Yeah. I've just learned that it's one of those things. It's like what Linus used to say in Peanuts. There are three things you should never talk about in polite conversation: religion, politics, and the Great Pumpkin. And he was right. I mean, you just don't do that.
Not the Great Pumpkin.
So it's one of those things that you never ever talk about because you just get yourself in trouble every time you do it. So I'm learning not to use the word victim, to just stay away from it because people don't react.
They taught that to us in hair school. They said that, you're basically a therapist for everyone in your chair. But the things you don't get mixed up in is politics, religion, and sexual orientation.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I can see that.
Yeah.
Yep. Or really any of the discriminatory classes. You definitely want to stay away from all of them, right?
Cause stay away from all of them.
I mean, there's complete rabbit holes. They go absolutely nowhere and they get you in trouble. Yeah, so I think victimhood kind of falls into that category.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad. But
Mm-hmm.
on the other hand, comfort zones seems to be a safe way to talk about it. It's the same topic.
It's the same thing, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same topic. It's just, it's more polite conversation. You know, it's conversation.
I think people like to just sit in their comfort zone for a second. Yeah, I mean, they feel like they need to sit there for a second and just be like, listen, I don't feel like being spiritual right now. I feel like they need to burn in hell for a second. You know what I mean? You just have to have that brief moment. Then you cancel it and get over it, and then you work on yourself.
And if that's all it is, then that's fine. But yeah, I don't get the impression that
people that are wallowing in it
yeah.
and then whining about it on Facebook.
Well, that's it. I don't get the impression that most people who are posting like that are only dipping their toe in for a moment. I get the impression that they've been living there for a while, and they don't have any intention of leaving.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like they just want someone to agree with them. They don't want to hear the I'm not going to say the correct answer because everybody's answer is different, but they don't want to hear a real answer. They just want someone to sit and wallow with them.
And there's an interesting phrase that goes along with it. The phrase is, please send
Misery
me
loves
good
company?
energy. No, well, that is actually true, but yes. No, it's please send me good vibes or good energy. Please send me positive feelings, right?
Yes.
And it really strikes me every time that I don't know if they understand what it is they're actually saying. What they're actually saying is, I cannot generate any positive feelings, so I need you to do it for me.
Yeah.
And wow, what a powerless position that is. That's like saying, I am totally powerless before everything in life. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, take advantage of me.
And then you're also inviting people to send bad vibes to you. So
absolutely.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually a form of addiction.
Mm-hmm.
My happiness can only exist if you make me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
People do this on my, there's a supernatural page that I'm on, and they actually had to create a rule around it.
Really?
People used to go, oh, I'm having a bad day, my boyfriend just broke up with me, or what have you had happened, and please send me pictures of Sam and Dean. And people will actually go into their phones and start sending pictures. And I'm like, I get what you're trying to do, but this is really annoying because everybody's doing it. Mm. So they're like, listen, we have a separate album of pictures that you can put them there and you can take whatever you want. Please do not go asking for pictures. That's what Google's for. Like, there's no need for all this nonsense. So I feel that this is the same way with the send good vibes situation.
To me, it is the V word, the one I don't dare say. Yeah. I want to be a V. I want to be that V person.
Mm-hmm. They just want someone to go, oh, what's wrong? Are you okay? Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Like, please stroke my ego for 5 seconds.
Yes.
Or longer.
Or for the next week or month.
You're right.
That I think more than anything else is what convinced me of the power of the law of attraction. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because I've seen so many people in life who set themselves up.
Yep.
Regularly. I know you have too.
Yeah.
I mean, just it's just an ongoing thing, and it perplexed me for years. Mm-hmm. Why would people do that? I never understood addictive personality, and when I was young, I
stopped responding.
Yeah, I hear you.
Because it's too much.
But when I was in my 20s and 30s, I knew about addiction in general. Mm-hmm. I didn't have any experience with it. Well, I had a little experience. I had one friend I can think of who was definitely addicted to drugs. But other than that, I didn't have a whole lot of experience with it. But I knew about it.
Yeah.
And I pretty early on made the connection between addictive behavior and the actual addiction. Mm-hmm. I could see addictive personalities. I could understand that is an addictive personality. What I did not understand is why they would want to be an addictive personality.
Right.
And when I asked that question, the answer always came back, well, they didn't choose to be that way. And that always perplexed me. I didn't understand the answer. You know, and so I figured, well, maybe they know better than I do, so I would just shut up. When law of attraction came along and the concept of what you focus on is what you get more of, That's what I thought of. All these people that I knew who had basically played the same card over and over and over again and kept getting the same results over and over and over again. I actually got that faster than my own stuff going on. I could see it in other people so much easier.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Same thing? Okay, yeah. So that helped me a lot in that sense. So thank you, all you addictive personalities. You made it really clear to me how the whole thing works. Oh, yes. Crazy stuff. Let's see. We've got about 10 minutes left. We got time for one more question. So let's see. What should we do for a question to address? A topic. Well, you mentioned Facebook, and you mentioned people who post frequently on Facebook, and the frequent kinds of questions that we see on there. I'm hoping maybe you can help me because I'm about to do my test. I was supposed to do this a week ago, and then I got sick. But no, I'm about to do my test promotion to see how much of a market there is in my local area for doing a workshop on law of attraction and relationships. And some of the questions that I've talked about addressing, I'm focusing specifically on reaching out to people who are currently single, not people who are married or in existing relationships, but people who are either looking for a relationship or they're in a tenuous relationship that's not going anywhere, or that kind of thing. So that
sounds like the right market.
So that's the target market. And the questions that I'm addressing are, first and foremost, how do I get my ex back? So that's one of the first things I'm mentioning. This is a question that gets answered at the workshap. Second question is, how do you find somebody who you can count on for a long-term relationship?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually at the root of the whole thing, I think. How do you find
that person? It is.
But what other questions can you think of that would be good to be questions to be answered by such a workshop that I can somehow tie into the marketing? What are the primary relationship questions that singles have today? And it's not an easy question because I know it because I spend a lot of time focusing on it.
It's not an easy question.
It's not, no. I mean, we actually talked about it one time, you and Carlos and I, when we talked about dating apps. That was a big one. And it was an eye-opener for me because I've never had to deal with dating apps, first of all. But second of all, I didn't realize how big they were and how much they'd influenced the entire dating scene. To the point where when I said to you, well, how do you actually get to know somebody when you're trying to meet them through a dating app? You said, exactly, that's the problem. And I said, oh, okay. So what do people do?
That's a question.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay. So that's probably enough. I got 3. I mean, I wanted to have 4. If I can get one more question, what I want to do is I want to flash them up on screen. How do you get your ex back? How do you connect with somebody when you're trying to connect on a dating app? How do you find out who they really are? I want to flash these questions on screen. So I need one more question. I think the last one is going to be, how do you find someone you can count on to really live the rest of your life happily with? Something along that line. I don't know how I'll phrase that, but it's going to be something like that.
Yeah.
But I need one more question. One more key question for singles today. Like, what's different?
I think a lot of times what I see is people asking, how do you get someone you like to like you back?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. I got to write that one down. How do you get someone you like to like you back? That's a great one. It's perfect for LOA, too.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that one. Very You're good. Welcome. Thank you. You just helped me solve a problem I've been trying to solve for like a week now. This is great.
I told you, when in doubt, just call me.
I tell you. Wow. That was brilliant. Outstanding. Oh, thank you.
No problem.
Well, that didn't even take 10 minutes. I don't know what to do at this point. That was quick. Holy cow. I thought that was going to take the 10 minutes. I really did. That's all right, though.
That was me. I'm quick on my toes.
Well, okay. I've got one more question to bring up, and this one's close to my heart. I have, personally, dating back to long before I discovered the law of attraction, I have a history of trying a lot of projects, trying new businesses and so forth, a few of which that have worked out. A lot of them have not. And because of the ones that didn't work out, I have a long-standing, built-up in my mind belief that the next thing that I try will always fail, which of course is self-defeating.
Yeah.
And I know it's self-defeating, and I've been working really hard on turning that one around, but only with some success. So I'm going to let you be my life coach for a moment and advise me. What's the best way for me to turn that thought process around? How can I stop myself and get myself onto a track of believing that, this next thing that I'm going to try is actually going to work? Because I'll tell you, there's a little piece of me that wonders if I didn't get sick as a way of postponing having to do this little market test. Mm-hmm. Because, I couldn't face up to doing the market test and getting a bad result out of it. And that's like the worst possible place to be in, because all you're going to do in that place is just continue to reproduce that same result.
Negative stuff, yeah.
Like, oh, geez, I don't need that. So how do I get out of that one, Coach Alyx?
Okay, well, I think the first thing you need to do is ask yourself, who in your life told you that you weren't good enough?
Oh, geez, everybody.
At one point. Because that's what you're playing in your head as you're thinking, well, I should do this new project. I don't know if it's going to work out. Why? Because I'm not good enough.
This is true. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And probably everybody who's close to me in my life at one time or another said something like that. Not that they...
You got a broken record in your head that you got to get out.
Yeah. Oh, there's no doubt about that.
Take it out of the jukebox, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Smash it on the floor. Which is a sad thing to do with an old style record, but sometimes you just have to break records, that's all.
Yeah. Some of the younger people might not know what we're talking about.
That's true.
Okay.
Yes. Before there was vinyl, there were these really rigid records that if you dropped them on the floor, it was smashed into a million pieces. And what's a record? Oh, a record is actually a thing with a large groove, and it's kind of like a very, very large compact disc, but it didn't have video. And it didn't use light.
Yeah.
And the way you played it was you put what they called a needle, like a sewing needle, in the groove, and then the groove made all these scratchy sounds that you play through the loudspeaker system. That's how you heard the sounds. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're talking about. If you take that disc out and you drop it on the ground, well, I think we did that part.
It's over.
It's over. Yes.
It's like scratching your CD. It's a wrap.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, scratching the CD, that almost doesn't seem to measure up. That's like this little tiny scratch.
No, it's not as devastating because you can still play it, but it's like there's this one part of the song that just won't play.
Just doesn't play, right. Whereas if you scratch the old style record, it would go... Yeah. So getting back to it, notice how I did a nice job of getting away from my problem. I just zoomed right away from it. It was really good. Yeah, I think you're right. I think I probably need to spend a little more time looking at that. Not just the fact that virtually everybody I know, because that's normal. I mean, at one time or another, anybody who cares about you at some point is going to say, "Oh, don't do that. That's not going to work," or something like that. Just, not because they're malicious. It's just that's going to happen, But that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that's their normal pattern. I mean, Louise has probably said something like that at some point, but most of the time she's really supportive. It just means that my mind is in some subconscious way connecting back to that one time when she said it. It's not going to work out.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be part of the answer for me then. Also, deliberately trying to remember all the times when people in my life told me, go for it, or, that's going to work, or give it a shot, or deal with it. Or
you need to focus on that.
Yeah, that's the secret right there. Good, thank you. Yeah, that's what I needed.
You're welcome.
That's a good way to end up the show. That's a nice high.
It is.
I like that. So thank you for that, Coach Alyx.
We always end on a high.
We try to. We do, yes. And it usually works. Want to remind people, I haven't given this message out in a while, but if you're not a subscriber, please become a subscriber. The instructions are on the homepage, loatoday.net. Just click the icon for your device and it'll just walk you through it. And then share the fact that you're a subscriber once you listen to episodes. You're listening to this episode, so share it on social media and say that you've been enjoying it. And that's how we keep spreading the word about your daily dose of happy. And we thank all of our regular listeners who do exactly that kind of thing. And I thank my co-host, Alyx, who does the show now with me 3 times a week, and I love that.
3 times a week.
3 times a week, yeah. You are the most prolific coach, or not? Well, coach. You're a coach today, actually, but you're also a co-host. You're the prolific co-host on the show right now. You actually have tied what was Cindy's former record, and you're now the leader out there. So, thank you for doing that. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right. And I'll be talking to you next on Friday morning. Friday morning. So that's good with Tom Wells. Please tune in for that and join us as well next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.